Hi, everyone. So my name is Kenna. I'm a final year chemical and biological engineering student at the UBC Vancouver campus. Today I will be facilitating the student experience panel, where the discussion will be focused on the realities of studying engineering at UBC. To do so, I'm joined by students from the Okanagan and Vancouver campuses, and I'll just let them introduce themselves. Maybe I'll start with Crystal. Crystal, could you please get us going?
Hello, everyone. My name is Crystal. I'm a third-year mechanical engineering student here in the Vancouver campus, and I've been involved in first-year residence and design teams and also co-op. If you have any questions, please let me know.
All right, thank you. And let's have Sean, please.
Hello again. My name is Sean. I am a final year mechanical engineering student, and I am specialized in thermal fluids. I did a lot of work, still doing work with design teams. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to direct them my way.
And of course, Erica.
Hello, I am Erica, and I am in my third year of electrical engineering at the Okanagan campus. I have completed my co-op degree and lived both on campus and off campus. So if you have any questions about transitioning to university, specifically moving away from home or anything like that, please direct them my way.
All right, thank you, people. So throughout our chat today, please feel free to ask us any questions you may have using the stage Q&A to the right of your screen. Please also note that we have representatives from our various design teams, and you can find them in the sessions part of Hopin. Today, the panelists and I will essentially be reflecting on our experiences, and I think to facilitate that reflection, it's a good idea to maybe go all the way back to the beginning. So I think I'll just pick on maybe I'll start with Crystal. Crystal, why did you decide to come to UBC, or why did you decide to study engineering here?
Yeah, so I chose UBC Vancouver because of, well, first of all, it has a beautiful campus, and you can see the ocean just near the school. And also I chose engineering because I really enjoy the hands-on aspect of it, and seeing that I was able to apply math, physics into real life was really exciting for me.
Wow, no, thank you. I think, when I speak to engineering students, I guess friends, they do say similar things about, just trying to being like in love with science and applying those concepts and like to sort of help improve humanity, if you like. But I think one thing that's also interesting about UBC is like the different campuses. So there's Vancouver and there's Okanagan, and I think, we have a representative from Okanagan today. So we have Erica, and I'm just wondering, Erica, what would you say is something that stood out to you the most about UBC Okanagan?
Yeah, so for me, what stood out the most about UBC Okanagan is the size of it and the community that's here. So when I first visited the campus and got the opportunity to look at the different facilities, meet some of the professors and some of the students here, I really just fell in love with how connected everybody was and how supportive the community felt pretty much immediately. It's very easy to make friends, and there's lots of opportunities still similar to the Vancouver campus. We still have, lots of labs. I know one of the things that a lot of my friends at Vancouver say is like, do you have any labs there? Like, I thought all the labs were in Vancouver, but no, we have everything that Vancouver has, just on a different scale. And the city of Kelowna is truly beautiful. There's tons of hiking, skiing. The lake is right downtown. So just kind of the combination of all of those different aspects led me to choose the Okanagan campus.
Yeah, I always think is interesting how, like our personalities sort of drive to an extent which sort of campuses we want to go into. So I think Erica earlier, I think when we were chatting, you mentioned how like you had moved from a smaller sort of community. So you like it was sort of coming to a bigger sort of city for like I think the first time you were saying.
Yeah, so I grew up in a very small town in Nova Scotia. So in the beginning, when I was choosing between Okanagan and Vancouver, the idea of going to a city with millions of people honestly just was scary to me. I was 17 and I kind of just wanted a midway point between not as small as the community I grew up in, but not as large as the city of Vancouver. And Okanagan was the perfect place for that. And I would choose it again if I had to make that decision if I was 17.
Oh, no, this is amazing, you know. Yeah, it's so interesting because, like, I, for instance, had grown up in the UK. I'd lived in London, and it was just people everywhere. And I liked that. So, you know, that was part of my decision in choosing that's something I had considered when I was sort of choosing the Vancouver campus. Um, then I think, you know, to our students here, I noticed many of you sent in questions about the transition to university life. And I know there's a lot that's involved when coming to university for the first time. In fact, I would argue there are things you can actually do outside of your academics to sort of set you up for success. Um, so I know UBC, for instance, arranges orientation programs to help students make friends, create a support structure, and actually start feeling, you know, at home at UBC. I guess so. To our panelists today, did any of you attend, I don't like any of the orientation programs, Jumpstart, Imagine Day? Oh, I think everyone is just shy to use their mics. I think I got a nod from Sean.
Yeah, so I think most of us, like I think all of us did Imagine Day at least. Like the first big day of classes is taken down, and instead you have like a big, I mean, it's changed a lot throughout since when I started, but yeah, it's like a big ceremony with all the new first years and new people to UBC. But yeah, I didn't do Jumpstart because I was a local student, but curious if anyone did, because usually people have a pretty good experience with that.
Yeah, like how I would say, do you feel like from those orientation programs, like you actually made friends? Like, did you remain friends with any of the people you sort of met? I don't know, did they sort of become your sort of the people you would do homework with and sort of get through life in engineering?
Yeah, I definitely keep in touch with one of the people from my Imagine Day group, and it's pretty common actually for people to like do that. Like people do make friends from their Imagine Day groups, but also another great program is the collegiate program for commuters who like don't live on campus. At least this is for Vancouver. I don't know about if Okanagan has a similar program, but it's like a special how can I like I don't want to say club, but like special organized area where people basically all commuters are grouped into like groups, and then they have specialized time in this cool area on campus, and they have like a collegiate advisor that helps them navigate. Kind of, it was put into place because commuters didn't have that residence experience, so that's also a really good program that really makes a lot of friends. I lived on campus my first year, so I wasn't a part of that, but from everyone I've talked about the collegiate program, they loved it. So that's also a really good thing that at least UBC Vancouver has. I know, Erica, is there something similar in Okanagan?
Yeah, so there is Jumpstart in Okanagan, and then instead of Imagine Day, it's called Create Day, but it's very similar. So the very first day before your classes start, you meet with all the students in your program and some of the upper year students. You get to meet some of the professors, and lots of the clubs and programs on campus have booths set up. So you're able to walk around, familiarize yourself with where your classes are, and there's usually a lot of fun orientation events that you can attend. I did not, and I know Jumpstart is like that, but like for a whole week for students who are moving new to the city or international students, or even students who would like to get moved into campus to have a little bit more time to settle before starting classes. I personally did not attend Jumpstart, but I was a residence advisor in my second year, so I oversaw a large part of that orientation program. I think for me, when I was starting at university, especially in the Okanagan campus, I did not know a single person before moving in, and I really did not want to be completely alone. So before I even went to school and moved in, I made a rule for myself that the rule was simple as say hello first. So anytime I saw someone who I wanted to meet or like, saw a group of people where I was like, man, I wish I was involved in that conversation, I just had the rule say hello first, and it made it so that I didn't have to make the decision. The decision was made for me in advance by myself. And I think that honestly was the biggest thing in helping me find community, because I met a ridiculous amount of people that, especially in the first 2 weeks when everybody was excited to be on campus and wanted to make new friends, and everyone was super open and making plans all the time. Being able to like make that first introduction and kind of break the ice really helped me to find my community. My still study group now in my 4th year is people who I met on the first day of classes, and I walked in and was like, "Are you guys going into this Calculus 1 class?" And they said, "Yeah." And I asked them if they wanted to sit with me, and we still study together every day to this day, 4 years later. So definitely don't be afraid to put yourself out there, make friends, go to the events that if you're living in residence, your RAs are putting on, or whatever first day events. I know we had a soccer game and a barbecue on my first day here in the Okanagan. So go to those and try and meet as many people as you can before you kind of get bogged down with the schoolwork, because that'll help you out when you are bogged down with the schoolwork, because you'll have people to go to with questions and for support and things like that.
Hmm. Now, that's so interesting, say hello first. I think that's like such a great, like, sort of, what will I call it, like slogan, if you like, to adopt. Um, I do know, however, there are some, I'll give you an example. I have a friend who I met in Jumpstart, and even to today, I don't know if he would say hello first. So, essentially, why I'm telling that story is that UBC knows that there are people who may not say hello first, and they do a lot to sort of make sure that somehow you still meet people. And a lot of this I remember because I did Jumpstart. And one thing that I remember was seeing, like, going for this events, like we would have, okay, so we would have orientation leaders who would take us every day, and they were basically like our parents. And then I remember doing this event where we were on tricycles, like really small tricycles. Honestly, if you race in tricycles with your friends, yet when you fall a few times, you're definitely gonna make friends with those people. Um, so UBC knows that there are different personalities coming to university. We have Erica, who would definitely say yes to you, like say hello to you first, and there are people who you say hello to them and they may not even want to say hello back yet. So there's many personalities coming, and UBC does its best to sort of accommodate everyone. And I think even some of this goes into residence, because like in first year residence, I think in a way that's where a lot of the friendships are also like sort of built upon and sort of solidified. I don't know, Crystal, did you live on residence in your first year?
Yeah, I can talk a bit more about that. I lived on residence in first year. I think it was one of the best experiences I've had so far. The friends I made in first year residence on the first day when I moved in, are still some of my closest friends. And I think some first year residents in UBC, they kind of like organize like your floor mates like in the same major. So on my floor, for example, 80% of us are engineering students. So we will have like Friday night, we're gonna grind out our web work homework, and then we're just gonna go have fun after. So I think it was the community and all the support we received that really kept us going, like during those like difficult moments. And I think living on residence is a great way to help you step out of your comfort zone and get some independence, kind of like adulting. You kind of need to like do your own laundry, like maybe wash the dishes, that kind of stuff. And living in residence really help you to make friends as well, because everyone's in the same boat as you. Many of them many of them live alone in the first time in their life. So you kind of just there kind of support each other. And I think it's really great to just see people all the time. It's just a really fun and really chill environment to be in. I really, really recommend.
Yeah, I feel like, residence, like university residence is one of the maybe few times in life where you get to be so close to your friends, like all the time. Once you start working, someone lives on one side of town, someone lives on the other side of town, people live in different provinces. It just gets complicated. But, on campus, you can just like, walk down the hall and that's your friend, and you just get to do homework, or you can ask for, maybe you're missing, like, I don't know, toothpaste. You can get like supplies from a friend. So I think, residence essentially, like as Crystal was mentioning, it does help you get that community. I don't know if people have any like questions in the chat by any chance. Feel free to ask all your questions. That's what we're here for.
There's some
I know
questions in the chat. Can I?
there are?
Yeah.
Am I
3.
reading the wrong chat? Oh, there's actually.
The stage questions.
Is it the Q&A tab?
Yeah, stage.
Yeah, yeah, I can see it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we'll get to those questions. Thank you for letting me know, Erica. But before we move into the questions, I guess maybe one thing I also want to sort of learn about is if anyone has lived off campus and what that experience was like compared to like residents. I know Sean mentioned the commuter experience. Did you join the commuter, like the collegiate club? Yeah, how was it like for you, for people who lived off campus?
Yeah, so I live on off campus now actually, and it was kind of the logical thing. I agree with Crystal in saying like the first year definitely on campus made the most sense. Even though like my house is maybe 30 minutes drive from UBC, even if you live 10 minutes off campus, like in first year it's so worth just if you can obviously to try and live on campus. But again, if you don't have the means to do that, or it just really doesn't make sense for you, they do have the collegiate experience. But yeah, I live off campus now. It's kind of nice. Like obviously there's some downsides to living on campus. For example, like the first year dorms, not a lot of them will have running water in your dorm, and that's fine for a year. But then if you're going to continue living like that, maybe not. Again, up to you, totally up to your preference. But for me, like I really enjoyed living off campus this year. I'm still like a 20-minute bus ride, so that's great. But I feel like I have a bit more freedom, and I'm a bit better connected with the city because UBC Vancouver is its own city. I think everyone can agree there. It's its own town. So living off campus kind of let me connect with Kitsilano, which is the region right outside of UBC, and yeah, so both of them have their own benefits, and yeah.
Okay. No, thank you for that, Sean. I don't know, Erica, were you trying to add on to that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say as well, I also lived on campus my first year and then also my second year when I was working as a residence advisor. And now I live downtown Kelowna, and it's only like 15-20 minute drive to the campus from where I live. And there's definitely benefits for both living on campus and off campus. I think Sean touched on everything that I was gonna say there, but I definitely, now that I'm living off campus, I'm still grateful for the time that I had in residence, because walking around, I still see those friends that I made in my dorms and in all the clubs and things that I was doing in my first year. So definitely take some of those things into consideration when you are deciding where to live for your first year, I would say.
Perfect. I think maybe we can move into the sort of feel like the meat of it, like the thick of it, if you want. So I see some students have asked. I've seen Nicole asked about time management for first year students, and in fact, I'd like to even make that broader by asking. Maybe I'll ask Crystal. I'll pick on Crystal this time. Crystal, what was the transition from high school, like taking high school classes, to university, and like coping with, like university courses? How did you transition? What helped you make the transition? Like what helped make that transition smooth for you?
Yeah, coming from a local high school to UBC was definitely like a very different experience, because back in high school, you probably only have 20 kids in your class, but then suddenly in first year, you have 200, 300 people suddenly. So I think that was a bit scary at first. I think like my best advice on that is to make sure you have good study habits, because in high school, the teacher kind of tells you what to do, and they tell you what you're expected to do. You're expected to learn this and what is going to be on the exam, for example. But in university, I feel like you have to do a lot of these things by yourself, and you have to like be independent, be responsible for meeting the deadlines and figure out this part of the assignment. So I think it's to make sure you have good study habits and don't leave things until last minute.
You know what's interesting with study habits? Like, at least I've found it, essentially study habits and time almost almost the same thing. If you have enough time, you can study, you can do all the, you can get through all the content. So I don't know, maybe I'll ask Erica, do you have any sort of time management tips for any first year students that may be coming to UBC?
Yes, I do. This is something that I will touch on briefly because honestly, I could talk about it for hours. But when I started my first year. Like I mentioned earlier, I came from a small town in Nova Scotia. So when I got to UBC in first year engineering, I honestly got rocked. Like my high school classes did not prepare me for the amount of like integrals and different kinds of math and things like that. But thankfully, UBC understands that everybody coming into the program comes from a different background, and they set up ways for you to kind of get accustomed to the new workload. So for me, some things that were really instrumental were attending SLs and tutorials. An SL is like a supplemental learning where older students who have excelled in that course will teach kind of an extra tutoring session for free that you can drop into whenever you need to, and they can help answer questions and give you some extra practice to work on. So that was super helpful. And I honestly, on my own, realized that I was kind of falling behind in my very first semester, and I did not want to go back to Nova Scotia. So I just buckled down, and I honestly did a deep dive into like YouTube productivity to the point where I had every minute of my day scheduled, and that was too far. So learn from my mistakes. You don't need to go that deep into it, but definitely some things that helped is having an ongoing to-do list that you're updating every day. Break down the assignments that you need to do. So if you have a couple of assignments, a couple of projects, a couple of readings, things like that, do a little bit each day so that you don't end up leaving everything to the last minute. And really, when you're studying, study effectively. Like it's better to study smarter than to study harder. So be testing yourself right from the beginning. Don't rewrite all your notes and highlight everything. Like you want to be doing practice questions. And when you're studying, you are studying. So have different kinds of study time. So a group study time where you go and you're asking your friends questions that you don't understand, or you're going to the professor's office hours and getting extra help. And then also individual studying, and that is, phone away, distractions off, and you are like grinding now. And the earlier you start to do that, individual study, group study, you can't have too much of either one of them. You need both. That honestly, when I figured that out, it shot my grades up. Like it was the single-handed most effective thing that helped me succeed through my first year, especially coming from a background where I did not know all the material that my classmates knew when we were first getting started. So get caught up as quickly as you can and stay on top of your schedule and to-do list to make sure that you're not missing assignments or needing to pull all-nighters, because it's not worth it. It's so much better just to do it in advance so that you can sleep at night, I promise.
Yeah, so you guys have heard that, So no Netflix in the background while you're trying to do math homework, And I think even what Erica was saying, very, very strong, good points over there. In first year, I definitely realized, like, when I did homework, let's say with a group of friends, like the time I would spend doing homework drastically reduced, because it's just people like talking, like when you have different sort of minds on the same like question, for instance, like very quickly you can get that question done because everyone has different approaches to that question, and people can see things you can't see at that specific time. So I found that so helpful as well. I would ask Sean just a different question I've seen on the chat, which is, what drew you to engineering at UBC specifically?
Let me see. What did I answer last time? No, I'm kidding. What drew me to UBC, engineering UBC specifically? Well, going from high school, I had a bit of a different experience with Crystal and Erica. I kind of felt like, through a process of elimination, the best department or faculty for me was engineering. I just couldn't really see myself in any other faculty, and I knew I wanted a post-secondary education. And UBC specifically is, I'm a local student, so I'm from Burnaby, which is it's a suburb of Vancouver. So UBC was kind of the more logical option for me. I did apply to SFU as well and like other schools across Canada, but again, UBC just made the most sense for me. And I just fell in love with the program and the campus in Vancouver, and that's just kind of how I ended up where I am here. Not that impressive, I know, but there you go.
No, I think that was a great answer, Sean. We're basically asking you to tell us what you had on your personal statement years ago. That's not easy to remember, But I think maybe another way to phrase that question could be, if you could write your personal statement today, what would you say? Like what things do you know now about UBC that would have made you like say, yes, UBC is the one for me?
That's a really tough question. You're like asking me how I can rewrite my university application.
Just bullet points. You don't need to like write like full
Yeah.
sentences. Like yes,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think like I didn't really talk about community as much in my personal statement because when you're applying to university, you're like, I'm the best student. I will be so good at studying and writing exams. Look how academically, look at all my extracurriculars. I think like mentioning more about community building in my personal statement would have been more applicable, kind of like after realizing where UBC's priorities are. That would have been more powerful, mentioning that. And then also, I mentioned this before, but like campus experience. Didn't mention that at all in my personal statement, I'm pretty sure. But that's such a big part of it. So I'd bring those two things.
Yeah, like no, those are great points. I think even some points to add on to that could be even the opportunities of how UBC sets you up for the future. So you come in, you're like, if you're like you're the input coming into this sort of machine called UBC, and then you get this finished product that can go on to an amazing grad school, or I don't know, a great company, call it, Tesla if you like. Just saying. But some students in the chat actually already thinking about grad school, and they're wondering how UBC can set them up for that. So maybe I'll go with Erica first. Like, what sort of opportunities do you think the UBCO campus has that students can take advantage of to set themselves up even from year one for the future?
Absolutely. Like, this is a fantastic question. I think that the sooner you start thinking about what kind of steps you want to take, the more time you will have to make those decisions. For me personally, the biggest thing that helped me with my career decisions was the co-op program. So in the co-op program, you're able to try out different jobs for a period of time. And so I did 16 months in different positions, and it really helped me not only build my resume for when I graduate, but also helps me choose, my elective fourth year courses and where I am thinking about doing my graduate studies. I do think that it has prepared me over all the course material and things like that. Sorry, do you mind just turning off your mic? I'm getting a little bit of feedback and it's a little bit distracting. Sorry, thank you so much. So right now, since I finished my co-op, I have my fourth year left to do. And this summer, I actually secured a job back in Nova Scotia working in a very technical position in marine renewable energy. So it's very exciting to be able to see what's out there. And I think that the sooner you start asking those questions, the sooner you can start gathering more information. The more information you have, the better decision you'll make for you personally. Definitely UBC looks great on any grad school application, both international and domestically. I know that from a lot of my upper year peers who have been accepted to highly prestigious grad schools and very specialized programs that they, never dreamed that they could have gotten into. I think that the co-op go global, as well as undergraduate research, which is something that's very unique to UBC. On both campuses, undergrads have the opportunity to volunteer or be paid to be research assistants with professors in their labs. And gaining that kind of experience not only looks really good for grad applications, but also looks good when you are finished your undergraduate degree and you're joining the workforce or joining a different, like any kind of studies, whatever you want to do afterward. It is really awesome to get that experience. And even, especially in the Okanagan program, I know Vancouver has tons and tons and tons of opportunity. Okanagan, kind of contrary to popular belief, also has those opportunities. There's just not quite as many students fighting for them. So it's really easy if you are interested in doing undergraduate research. I could probably name 15 of my peers who are studying in research labs with their professors, with other grad students, and who are really building those technical communication skills, the hands-on experience, and even the classes, the design projects, the labs, all of those things are helping to prepare you for after you graduate.
Yeah. Thanks, Erica. Is everyone getting, like, am I clear? Like, are you guys getting like some feedback?
Only when both of our mics are on.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right. Yeah. So thank you for sort of giving such a comprehensive answer, Erica. One of the things you mentioned was the co-op program. And, you sort of mentioned how in Okanagan, there's fewer people, if you like, fighting for those positions. So in a way, you can, like, if you want it, you got it. um, but to an extent, I wonder if that's the same experience of Crystal and Sean on the UBC Vancouver program. Like in UBC Vancouver, did you sort of do co-op? How was it like getting a co-op placement? Maybe I'll start with Crystal. If I don't know if you did co-op.
Yeah, so I just came back from a co-op, but because last year was COVID, I was actually doing my co-op back in my country. I was doing co-op in China. But overall, my job search experience wasn't like too terrible. I think from the companies I interviewed with, and I mentioned that I have some skills, like hands-on skills, for example, with 3D printing and CADing. And also I talk about some of the courses, and they seem to be pretty impressive with that. And I also talk with my peers when they interview for jobs. And it seems like the companies really want like students with good hands-on experience. They focus more on students' experience rather than just their grades. So I think for the co-op program, we also have a lot of support from the advisor that they will tell us how our resumes can stand out, and they give us feedback on the cover letters. So I think also there's a question saying like what sort of supports we have to find jobs. So I would say joining the co-op program is really highly recommended because you can get a lot of job experience and you meet with a lot of professional engineers. And I think in engineering, we have really good support system as well to help students secure jobs.
Yeah, and I think I'll just add to what Crystal said. Getting your first job will be the hardest. From someone who did the co-op program, I think I applied to like 165 jobs for my first co-op term and ended up securing one at like the last minute. But then when it came to my subsequent ones, because I had that engineering experience, I had a reference, I, kind of honed in my skills on writing my cover letter, making my resume. My LinkedIn was like crisp thanks to the co-op program and all of their feedback. And so my second co-op term, I secured a job, the first job that I applied for. And then I stayed there at the same company, bouncing around the different departments for 12 months. And now this coming summer, I had 4 different job offers that I didn't even apply for. So once you get that resume built up and you kind of gain some of that experience, it definitely is easier to find opportunities. And you personally will learn what you like and what you don't like. Do you like working in a team? Do you like working individually? Do you like working from home? Do you like working in an office? Do you like working in the fields? What kind of things do you like working on? For me, I'm in electrical, so it's like power or system control or computer engineering. So all of those different things that you kind of start to learn about yourself sooner, it helps you make decisions down the road.
Wow, first of all, like big congratulations, right? Like, you got headhunted, like you didn't even have to apply. They were like, please come, please come. So I think, when you say that, I'm sure there's a lot of students wondering, how can I be like Erica? I want to get headhunted too. So from the first year, I know at UBC, there are ways you can get experience even in your first year. Just out of curiosity, did anyone join a design team, for instance? What was that process like? Sean, is that a nod?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to go on? Like, tell us how did you learn which design team you wanted to go into? How was the process of getting in? Was it easy? Did you have to like butt everyone out just to get in? Like, how was that
For
experience?
sure. Yeah, no, that's a good question. So I joined the rocket design team on campus, UBC Rocket, in my very first year. And yeah, it was a competitive application process. Crystal is also on the team, so she could also attest to that. It was a very lengthy Google form to fill out, and then it was interviews. So it was a competitive process, and a lot of teams on campus, both campuses, will have a competitive process. But luckily I got in, and I think out of everything I've done at UBC, the design team was the best choice, because now when I'm applying for full-time jobs, and even for my last internship, the interviewers didn't even ask that much about what I did at my last job. They said, what did you do at your design team? Because everyone graduating from university now will have co-op, will have internship experience, but not many will have design team experience. And companies are realizing that students with even a year of design team experience are really different from students with no design team experience. And one of my colleagues on my design team, she wasn't in the co-op program, and she didn't do any internships over the summer. And right out of university, she's now working at Tesla because she was so involved with the design team. So that's just an example there. And like I said, from my personal experience, I've only been really asked about design team contributions and such.
No, I think I can even add to that. Like when I was doing my interview for an internship, same thing. They were just like, "Tell me about your design team. You have done things that are sort of relevant to what we're doing here at a bigger scale. So why don't you just tell us about like what you've done, because that's essentially the job." But before I go on, I'm just wondering. We have a big guest here today. Hi, Erin. I was just, is there any sort of points?
I'm so sorry that I have to wrap up your session. I hope it's been going well. But we are kind of coming to the end of the evening now.
If it's okay, can I ask one last question?
Sure.
All right, just the last round. I think it was Nicole who asked this, and they said, now you've studied engineering, or at least you're studying engineering. What do you plan to do with your engineering degree? And maybe if I can get people to tell us, I know everyone here is very ambitious, but maybe in 30 seconds, what do you think you're going to do with your engineering degree? Maybe we'll start with Crystal.
It would be like very ideal. One of my dreams is to like make an impact on my society. I really want to help people. That's like one of the main things I plan to do with my engineering degree, just to really help the vulnerables and help to make our community a better place, I guess.
Thank you, Crystal. And like sometimes too, it's not like some exact thing. There's like you can help people and help communities in various ways. So maybe I'll go with Sean next.
Yeah, mine's not as inspirational, unfortunately, but I hope to advance the transition of people to electric vehicles. I just received an offer to join a EV company in California. So, I mean, I'm graduating, so I can give you a specific thing that I'm going to do. So I wish I had a more philosophical thing to say, but yeah, I'll keep it at that.
And of course, Erica.
Yeah, so I think mine is kind of a combination between Sean and Crystal's answers. So I also care about community involvement and community impact and helping people, kind of live, I don't want to say live their best life, but like helping them have accessibility to the resources that they need to do what it is that makes them happy and healthy and safe. And I also am very passionate about sustainability and environmental conservation. Similar to Sean, the position that I'm working in this summer, like I mentioned earlier, is marine renewable energy, but I'm actually working on designing electric substations for electric boat charging. So in Nova Scotia, we have 15 fishing boats coming in that are completely electric. And so we're designing the substations for those and getting those deployed in the various parts to try and decarbonize Nova Scotia's marine industry. So it's pretty exciting. I think I will carry that into my career or even some further studies, depending on how my final year goes. But that is so far the plan. Yeah.
Wow, so lots of like ideas here. Thank you so much, guys. I'm just gonna pass it on to Erin.
Perfect. Huge thank you to our student panelists that are here today. Thank you so much for representing both the Okanagan and the Vancouver campus today. I hope that you all got to learn lots. Thank you to all of our design team representatives that were here as well. Again, representatives from the Okanagan and Vancouver campus sharing more about all of the amazing things that their teams get to do. And hopefully you enjoyed learning more in all of the specialized sessions that we had for you. I know they were real quick and just a really quick snapshot of what you kind of have to look forward to, but hopefully it gave you some information to kind of plan ahead. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening, and I look forward to seeing many of you on campus in September.
Thanks so much. See everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you. Good
guys.
luck. Bye.